Hey everybody, welcome to Should I Love with Jason Stuart, which is me. I'm very excited to have this guest, actor, singer, dancer, host, I don't know, magician, everything. He is just very exciting, very handsome. I met him when he came to town around 10 years ago or so, and it's Jay Rodriguez.
Hi, Jason.
Isn't this weird? We met when you came to town, and I remember I said, I think we knew who each other was.
Yes, I was familiar
And it was
with
one
you,
of
yeah.
those,
Yeah.
and I just said, "Hey, here's my card if you need anything."
Yeah, and of course you'd worked with Wilson Cruz, who I came up with around the same time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I sort of replaced him in New York when he was leaving Rent. I was coming into Rent, and so
Let's talk about Broadway. So the first is Rent the first thing that you
right
did?
out of high school. I was the youngest person ever cast in a leading role in that show, and for me it was like completely the college years. I really didn't know anyone gay, and here I was playing a drag queen.
Which must have been really...
It was scary, and I remember the director kept saying, okay, so Angel's not a girl. So I think he gave me Paris is Burning, he gave me Tu Wong Fu, The Birdcage, to kind of get some
How
kind
old
of
were you?
understanding. I was 18.
Did you know Leslie Odom Jr.?
Yeah.
Because I just read his book, and it's called Failing Up.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody, it's a really quick read. You must read it. It's about taking risk. And he got into Rent at, I think, 16 or 17 too.
He was the youngest person I think ever cast in the show. He was in the ensemble. He played sort of the diva character or life support group leader named Paul. He was an understudy for Benny.
Benny is...
the sort of adversary in Rent who grew up with them, but then like makes it rich and buys the building that they're squatting in.
Okay.
And he tries to kick them out for the greater good of renovating it and building a recording studio, but they don't want any part of it. He understudied that role, and we're like, oh my god, if he ever goes on, it's going to be like Baby Benny. But he was incredible in it, even at that time, and it's just
his book was
magnificent.
really motivating and really honest and real.
I just saw his cabaret at Lincoln Center. It was on PBS, and brilliant. He was just an incredible vocalist, just captivated the audience. It was beautiful.
So you go into Rent, which is already a hit show.
Right, a year later after it opened, about a year and change.
So it's like there's no, hey, is this show going to be any good?
Right.
Am I going to have a job?
Literally, and imagine I'd gone to 2 years of performing arts high school, and then, sleeping in the street for the first 2 rows, the rush tickets. And then from there...
Wait, not sleeping in the streets in life to get to see the show.
Correct. So the first 2 rows were rush tickets. It's not... Now they have things like lottery. But at the time it was first come, first serve. People would often spend the night to ensure that they would have... be there at 6 o'clock to purchase...
That's what they do for Hamilton.
That's right. So we did that, and then a few months later, there I was, like, on stage looking down at the seat I sat in, as a fan. And I was like, what a full circle moment. But yeah, I knew that I was going to perform. I knew that was going to be my path. I didn't know how. I'd never met anyone who had made a living that way.
Did you ever do drag before?
Nope, never did drag. That was another interesting thing. I still have the Joan Marcus stills for the, that they come and do when you're in tech. And I have a great picture of the first time I was ever in drag. Pretty terrified behind the eyes, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Also, because you're coming and all of a sudden it was... What year was it?
1997.
So it was a little different.
Yeah, I mean, the culture was saturated with drag. I had no idea.
People were being openly gay, but it wasn't like, okay, and this is your first thing and your parents come to see you in the show, and it's like... Do you remember in Chorus Line?
Yeah.
There's that speech that the guy does. The Latin guy.
Yeah.
I forgot the character's name.
Is it Paul's monologue?
Paul's monologue.
Truth be told, foreshadowing, or maybe just my acting teacher knew me. His name was Burt Michaels. He did all the movie musicals back in the day. He was in West Side. He was in Gypsy. He has done countless Broadway shows, and he and his wife would teach at this performing arts high school I went to. And he gave me as my senior, I think for the senior project or senior showcase at the end of the year, you had to do a monologue and 2 songs every senior. And I got Paul's monologue. And you imagine that's like June. And then, 4 months later, I actually am putting on pantyhose, like my character talks about. And sort of the confusion at the time of what does this mean? What am I owning up to? When I would tell people what I did for a living, I would say, I work in theater. But I wouldn't be specific because I was embarrassed of the role I played. Or I was nervous about how people would receive it. At that time. Now I can't even imagine being that shy or bashful about it.
Now you did it with before or after Wilson?
So it was Wilson Heredia won the Tony, then he left, then Wilson Cruz came in for a year after having done it on the road for a year, and as he was leaving, I had finished up opening the Canadian cast for a year, came to New York to cover Wilson and then eventually replace him when he left. Yeah.
Wow. And this is all before having any notoriety. Just
really, all of it. Yeah. And I mean, I did Rent for about 5 years, and I would leave and come back and do plays at Lincoln Center and come back. Rent was like my ultimate waiter job because I came in as a swing for a little while, so I played 5 different roles at any given time. First covered for Angel, and then moved up and played the role for my final years there.
Forgive me, I don't remember the show because I saw it once and then I saw the movie.
So Angel's an HIV positive.
No, that one I remember, but are there other ensemble parts that have a couple lines here and there?
Yeah.
So it's like moving up and you get
totally. And it's really one of those ensemble shows when you see it now. There's no crew people that help you with props. It's like one. So you're moving set pieces yourself. There's a lot of it's really physical, even in the ensemble, and they make sure that everyone sort of has a moment that's featured in the ensemble, whether it's like a solo in an iconic song or,
really?
A character. Yeah, there's a lot of phone calls. In Rent, and so you have all these things. I mean,
so you always had something to do.
I would always, go from playing the drag queen in the matinee to the big homeless guy, singing the Seasons of Love soloist with the other woman.
Wait, so you would do different parts in
the same day because it'd be 2 shows, and they'd be like, "Oh, you're on for Angel the matinee," but because I was covering at the
oh my
for a
god,
yeah.
Did you ever forget who you were?
Yes, you had to look down. You look down like, who am I today?
Oh my god!
And sometimes as understudies, we would have alternate costumes than the original ensemble member, so you look down and you're like, I don't know who this is. Give you just whatever they thought was East Villagey because you were just a swing. But no, we had great people in the show. I mean, Karen Oliva was also a swing, and now she went off to win a Tony for West Side Story, and she's starring in Moulin Rouge, which is coming to Broadway. Of course, we just talked about Leslie Odom Jr. was, I think, the youngest person ever cast in the show, period.
For those who don't know who he is, he won the Tony for doing one of the leads in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And he was also in Murder on the Orient Express, which I thought he was so good. I said, who's this powerful guy? Yeah. I've not seen Hamilton.
Yeah.
I waited to get tickets, and I was every day on that thing, and then I didn't get it, and I didn't go, and I was so upset, and I was in New York, and I don't know. And
I got lucky. My friend Wayne Bradys was doing it in Chicago. Big dream of him.
The game show host?
Yes.
The improv guy?
And he had done Lola and Kinky Boots for, I think, a year or 6 months. Can't remember.
Wayne Bradys?
Yeah, he just finished again. He went back for another 6 months. He just loved the role.
So does he do his game show in New York during the day?
So they would try. No, they do it on CBS here in LA, and at a studio right around here. Actually, I think it's at the Raleigh.
Yeah.
He
there.
And he would just stockpile them. And then he would take this chunk of time to go do Broadway when he was off. And he did.
I love that.
Yeah, he did 3 months in Chicago as Burr, Leslie Odom Jr.'s role, I believe. And he did it as an investment in his future because people hadn't seen him play this kind of a character before. He flew executives out. He made sure that people got to see him.
He did Sammy Davis Jr. in something.
Oh my God, that's his icon. He has so many pictures and life-size figurines of him in the house.
And if you ever, Drew Carey was an old comedy friend of mine. And I knew him forever. The nicest man you'd ever meet. I remember once he gave me $1,000 to write a couple jokes for his book.
Oh my God!
Because he knew how broke I was, and then he gave me my first guest star on his sitcom.
Oh my God!
Ever. So I'll never forget him for that. And he had done this show. Whose line is it anyway? And he said, "Come to the Improv and see us do this thing." And he asked me, "Do you want to be in it?" And I said, "Let me go see the show," because I had done Groundlings, but not. I mean, I'm an actor on one side and then a comedian on the other. But these guys, Ryan Stiles, and they were like, geez Louise.
The way that Wayne's brain works is people always ask all the time when we're together, how do you do that? And she's like, it's just the way my brain works. It's like he can make word associations through melody and make things rhyme in the moment. He just has a knack for that, and he can do it on the spot. He had this great residency in Las Vegas for a long time, which was called Making Shit Up, and the whole show is improv. He had
it's called Making Shit Up?
That was the name of it. I think he
took my name, Shit I Love. I thought I'm the only one who had shit in the title.
Yeah, and he used a hashtag for the I and shit, but it was great, and it was, he would fly out there on the weekends, do the show, and I think it ran for 3 years, 2 years, and just did the weekends.
That I knew, yeah, because I'd worked in Vegas a couple times and seen his thing there.
Yeah.
So tell us, you also did Carmen Gia on Broadway.
So that's a funny story. I was doing Queer Eye, and I was looking for ways to get back on stage. Honestly, just looking for ways to act again, and they had offered me the parts of 2 years prior. Then I hadn't seen the show. I saw the show, and I thought, okay, I can do this. I think
it's real. I was up for that part.
Yeah. Oh,
it's very. I'm too old now, but it was the only Broadway show where they actually asked me to come to New York, and I remember they said, "Do you have a song?" And I'm not a singer,
Sure.
but I can sing a tune. And he said, "What's your song?" I said, "I'm singing Paper Moon." He said, "In what key?" I said, "Well, the same key Barbra Streisand did in Funny Lady." And the casting directors laughed, and the bitchy queen who was playing the piano looked at me like I just killed his child.
Great.
So I'll never forget that.
No, I love it. And, like, I didn't want to do it because I thought, oh, God, I'm on a show called Queer Eye. I'm the queer guy. And here's the gayest role ever on Broadway. But
which a straight guy, supposedly,
yeah.
Was nominated for a Tony.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so... But I went in and just embraced it, loved it. I mean, it was great because Rent, you didn't have like moving set pieces in the way that an old-fashioned Broadway musical would. Things didn't fly in and out and so when I was in producers,
almost a concert in
absolutely.
Sort of
and so when I did the producers, it was like, oh, this is it. This is real Broadway. I had my own dressing room, like a star dressing room. It was crazy. And Rent we shared.
Who was Nathan Lane in the show?
That was Garry Beach, who had won the Tony.
Oh, wow.
He was back for a limited run, and I was fortunate enough to get 3 months with him.
Who played the two leads?
It was Garry. Oh, it was...
Because Garry Beach did the director, right?
Hunter Foster, and I'm blanking on who the Leo role... I mean, the Nathan Lane role was.
Was it Martin Short or...
No.
Jason Alexander?
No.
I saw it with them.
Yeah, no, I think the only celebrity we had at the time was Garry Beach, and he had won the Tony 3 years prior, or whatever it was.
Wow.
And Hunter Foster, who I think had just come off at the time.
Big Broadway,
Little Shop.
Big Broadway actor.
Yeah.
And I heard that he was just terrific.
Yeah. So it was great, and so that opportunity was really awesome, but because of that, a year prior, they had asked me to do the movie. Just a little cameo role, and so I did that.
No, that was wonderful for you.
Yeah, cute. Got to meet... oh my gosh!
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody. But the author, the creator of
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks was on set and couldn't have been more gracious. And yeah, so that was kind of like an amazing thing. And then Queer Eye ends, and I'm like, what am I gonna do now? And I ended up booking a competition reality singing show on Fox here in LA. Came to shoot it, stayed for 2 months. While shooting it, had 2 months left to shoot.
But I know when we had talked,
yeah,
I remember you were very, very, very honest with me. You said, "God, I just want people to know that I'm an actor too," and that was not just It's the same thing. It's always. I'm not a one-trick pony.
Sure.
Yeah, I can host a show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can sing, but I also act.
Yeah.
And I think that you really stuck to your guns.
Yeah,
and that's
and I think
why. It's the same thing with me being a comedian and also being openly gay. It's the same kind of story. Is that people when I first was younger, I was just this funny guy, and then I'm the comedian.
Yeah.
And then I'm the gay comedian.
Right.
And then I'm the guy that only does sitcoms.
Right.
And then you're the guy that Then finally I started doing independent films, and I got a closer, and I'm the annoying Jew, and then then I'm the plantation owner.
Well,
and they finally go, oh, hey, he can do more than
what we thought. That was the push-pull about being here. And I think the interesting thing is now I have enough footage to prove I say what I am. When I moved here, it was a lot of I had to prove myself. I took Queer Eye off my resume. People didn't want to know about a reality star auditioning for scripted things. Even though I had a scripted background as an actor, no one cared. But now sort of it's irrefutable because I have, you see him as a cop, we have that. Straight Dad got that, and so I have the footage now.
The thing that I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, you work with Susan Stroman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's who's the director.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. Stroman.
Susan Stroman, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
To work with that. She's Broadway royalty.
Yes. She had done Contact and so many other great projects on Broadway, and people loved her. She had a sense of theatricality that lent itself to movement. She very choreography based with her actors, because a lot of her shows are dance pieces, and but she just gets comedy in such a fun way.
Wow. I'm interrupting myself. But the thing that really, I think, to me, just from an outsider's point of view, is the thing that really changed everything was Malibu Country.
Yeah, I was the first guy who garnered fame from reality to become a series regular on a network show with Malibu Country. And it was Reba, Lily Tomlin, Sarah Rue, myself. And it was... people look at things like that and they're like, oh, they just offer it to you. I was like, no, I had to audition with everybody else, And not only that, the role was written urban black. It was written to be the gatekeeper at a hip hop label that had changed hands many, many years. And it had originally been a country label that she had been signed at maybe 25 years ago.
And they saw you because...
And they saw me because they thought, let's throw a little Latin in it. Maybe just one little token Latino in this to see if that'll... And I went in, it was, you can relate to this, 4:30 on a Friday, end of pilot season, in the valley. And I thought, I'm going to hit so much traffic going bad. I was so bitter. I decided to change the character and make him a New York City queen with an attitude. And I played him that way, just opposed to the guys who played it urban. And one of these things was clearly not like the other, but it was just one of those moments where when Reba had a chemistry test with me, the producers loved my new choice, and they were like, alter all the lines to make sense for your choice. Like, we don't care. Just, like, give us that character. I was like, okay. So when Reba and I got together, she actually told me later, she was like, I knew it was going to be you. She's like, I wanted you. I was like, he makes the most sense. But it was one of those moments that philosophy of going in and changing a role as to what you want it to be versus what's on the page didn't serve me later when I went in for things like Modern Family, and the casting director was like, I'm going to stop you. So our writers win Emmys for every word they write. Let's let them do the writing, shall we?
That's Jeff Greenberg.
Yes, and I was like, okay. And he never called me in ever again for anything. I went in to play Cam when the first round, when they were auditioning everyone and their mother, and I had just moved to LA, and I was so incredibly nervous about things like being typecast or pigeonholed that I went in and played Cam masculine. Biggest mistake of my life.
Oh, I can beat that. I did 30-something like it was a sitcom because I saw it written in 30-something, and I thought it was a comedy.
Oh my gosh. I went into an audition once where, one of those where you have like 2 or 3 a day and it's a fluke and you just...
Never.
Trying to commit.
I'm not as cute as you.
But I went in one day and she was like, more multicam. And I was like, oh, is this a sitcom?
But also, then you did this Malibu and you got to work with Lily Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you're going to tell me she's great. But what is her process working with her?
So she's really savvy in the sense that she asks the right questions. Like, you want to be around her when we first started Malibu Country. She, her character was named Lily Mae on there, and she'd come in with strong choices of who this woman was, and because we had 4 showrunners within the first 2 months, because our showrunner got sent to AA or whatever.
Showrunner got sent to
Yeah, could you imagine? We had 4 showrunners in the first 2 months.
Well, I hope he came back or she came back okay.
I know. So he's doing really well, but because of that, everyone came in with a new idea of what the character should be.
And her character?
Yes, and she was very
clear. For Lily
with,
Tomlin?
Yes, and she was very clear with them, like, she wouldn't do that, she wouldn't say this, in a way that was really, because mind you, all my only experience was all the shows I'd seen that she'd been in, and of course, the YouTube viral video of when she was on set and in the car with Justin Hoffman, and I never saw an ounce of that, and she talks about it openly all the time. For those of you who don't know, Lily Tomlin was on set. I don't even know who the director was, but he apparently pushes a lot of buttons, and she lost her mind and went off on him. Well, that video audio file went viral, and people think she's a bitch, but honestly, she could have been a million times over in our show, and she never, ever, ever showed even a glimmer of that. So
yeah, but Lily Tomlin never, ever had that reputation before that video.
Yeah.
That was the first time that somebody ever had that kind of a thing happen where you would show someone's work.
And there's been a couple other actors who've come out after that and say they've had similar experiences with that same director. Well,
the director is probably one of the most brilliant directors of David O. Russell,
yeah,
of our time, who did Silver Lining Playbook, American Hustle.
Right. American Hustle, one of the actors in that, Amy Adams, I believe, said she had a horrible time because of him.
But I don't think he, whereas Jennifer Lawrence swears by him.
Yeah.
I think that you just have to understand what he's doing, and you have to let go, because his films are half improvised.
Right.
And you have to, and I think that you just have days where things happen on a set, and people don't realize the focus it takes to do what we do, and the fear.
Yeah.
Is so big.
Yes.
And it still is after
the unknown
40 years. Yeah. And I just think it was unfortunate that happened. I mean, Christian Bale also had a bit of it because somebody was in his eye line and kept doing that stuff. And I remember doing a film with Faye Dunaway where she said the same thing. And she had to cry in the scene. And you can see that you just can't have, it's like if anybody at home is listening now, it's like working in your office and having someone touch your ear while you're trying to type something. And that's what it feels like. Or someone keeps touching the side of your face or pulling your back of your hair.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like. And I so understand that. And, a whole career in one day once, and somebody put that on. I love that I got to see it because it made everybody look like real human beings.
Right.
And I see Dustin Hoffman being the dad, trying to calm everybody down. And, but he's had his days too.
Absolutely.
And for some reason, so people will say, and if this happens to you, they say, what was it like working with so-and-so? And I said, oh, they were great. I said, like Kara Sedgwick, I heard people ask me a lot doing the closer. And she was all business.
Yeah.
But she was so there for me.
I love her. I actually screen tested for a role of a villain called the Illusionist who could transform himself to look like four different people. So we had a hair and makeup test. And the kicker was they wanted a boy to be able to pass as an actual female. And I get into the hair and makeup trailer, and the first thing the woman says is, I've never put a man in drag or made him look like a woman, so just bear with me. And I was like, well, not getting this. And sure enough, some 19-year-old kid who literally looked like a girl anyway ended up getting the guest star. But I was so excited at the opportunity.
You probably could. Was that recently? Or?
No, it's like 8 years ago.
Because you could probably do it 10 years ago. But
now thank God it'll get called in. I know.
But there's nothing wrong with that. And I think we have this stigma against gay men playing feminine characters.
Right.
And I think there's something, wrong with that.
Agreed.
Because there are people who can do that, and a straight guy can do that and then do something else and no one says, but if a gay guy does,
forget it.
And I don't understand because people would say to me, hey, you just can't do this.
Yeah.
You can't, and then I did a film recently called Immortal a couple of weeks ago with this great director, John, I'm saying Dubac, I think is how you say it. And I play this private investigator who's deals with spyware. And the only thing I said about the character is his voice is low and he's very intimidating. And so I thought I was so boring when I did it.
Right.
I thought this is going to be terrible. And I just committed to it. And then he showed me a clip, a rough cut, and I went, oh, wow. Okay.
Not bad.
I can do this. Because people tell you can't.
I know. I auditioned for an ABC pilot this year. The lead role was just fabulous, flamboyant, over the top, really witty character. I went in and I was like, oof, it's just not fitting like a glove. So I didn't think about it.
The dialogue?
The dialogue. It just didn't fit. And then...
That's the problem most of the time.
And then about a month later, I get a call. They'd like to offer you just a little guest star on this same pilot. You don't have to audition, but the role could be built out if it goes to series. They'd love to just offer to you. And I was like, all right, I didn't book a pilot this year. I'll do that, sure.
It's always nice when someone offers you something.
Right. I get on set.
That more than itself.
Yeah, I get on set and I get the updated sides. And the character description is like a night shift clerk who is... who's weird looking and makes you feel, and I was like, what? I'm like, am I supposed to play it like this? Like, because I hadn't been in the script prior. So we get on set and I'm just doing the lines normally, being charming, great, having a great connection with the other actor. And then the director's like, you know what? I just think we need to, actually the author, he was like, I think he just needs to be really creepy. So can you just say it like monotone and just stare at him and just like make it the stupid, like most annoying monotone thing you can and maybe really fast. And I was like, okay. But it was like totally different than when I walked in.
You got it, and you just follow direction
and you just do it. Yeah, you're praying and you're like, this doesn't.
And then they say, hey, this is great. And you still feel like a complete idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look and you go, oh my God, I'm great.
Not so bad. Yeah.
Well, what happens is it's the having something going on behind your eyes.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And that's what I've been working on.
Yeah.
Do you feel, are you in that place yet where you're starting to understand when you're doing film where everything is so,
it's on what's happening on the inside.
Oh my God. And when you can get to do that, that's the kind of actors that I love.
I think part of it too was some of my early auditioning moments here in LA. I was so focused on the lines and just remembering them and getting them out with some level of connection to the script. And so now I'm not afraid of,
but your success was getting and being yourself.
Yeah.
which has happened to me too. So I can identify with what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying. So you have to go, okay, this is what I do. And those are the ones that might not have my name on it, the people that are trying to control the creativity. There's some people who just want you to mimic them.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are incredible mimics.
Yes.
And those can't do it.
Yeah.
Cannot mimic
No,
it.
I'm the same way.
I can't do it.
For me, it's been so incredibly diverse. One of the biggest things, Malibu Country was great, but something happened 2 years ago. I got a call from Sandy Logan, who cast me in Malibu Country. She's a big fan, lovely, kind.
Sandy Logan,
Yes,
I know her.
Yes,
she's wonderful.
Great.
Yeah.
She also cast at the Garry Marshall Theater, which was called the Falcon until about last year when they, after his passing, renamed it in his honor. And it's this beautiful theater,
I've been there,
120 seats or something, and they do really great stage pieces. And they were doing Buyer and Seller, which is a fictitious piece based on a real book that Barbara Streisand released a few years ago, coffee table book of the construction of her Malibu dream house, in which
houses
is like three of them connected in touch on the property, and she explains how
I have the book.
Oh, great!
It's so detailed.
So detailed.
I couldn't get.
Yeah, she has this French street and below the basement of one of the farmhouses where she stores all her belongings. So she's got a dress shop, a candy shop, and it looks like the 1800s. So the fake premise is...
Calm down, everybody who's listening. This is so insane.
I know. So the fake premise is, what if she had to hire someone to work down there? So if she chose to visit her belongings, she wouldn't feel lonely. And who would fit that job? Oh, maybe someone who worked at Downtown Disney. I play that guy. And I play all the roles. I play Barbara. I play her husband. I play my boyfriend. And so... Can you do Barbara just a little? Yeah, so... oh, gosh, what did she say? I'm from Long Island, and so I made her like every like Jewish mom I wish I would have grown up with. But it was hilarious because I was the last person that Garry had cast before he passed away. I didn't even want... Sandy kept calling. I was like, they're not going to hire me. It's normally a yoga body white guy. She's like, Garry wants something completely different. He doesn't care the color of the actor. He just wants the essence of the... I was like, okay, great. Went in, loved him, got cast, and it really changed my whole life. But I sort of embody... The funny thing is my character says... I don't do impersonations when he's talking to the audience. Like, never have, never will. I'm not that kind of actor. And then in the show, inevitably, to kind of make the adjustments between the characters, I did make Barbara, vary this. She would talk to me like this. Well, I don't know. I'll give you $20 for it. It was very that. Everything I grew up with on Long Island. And so that was kind of my Barbara choice.
So you knew that person.
I knew that person, and it was a lot of her physicalities. I watched a lot of her interviews, the nails. My character is fascinated with her nails, and just talks about how
it's the way she holds her hands, and the way she does this with her
hair.
She never ever puts her hair behind her ears, and she always makes sure her hair doesn't look shitty. Yeah,
so it was like embodying her as the something, but you get to discover this beautiful relationship that she has with this fictitious person, and it's just this great love letter to her. I mean, she doesn't come off looking gleaming in all of the entire Buyer and Seller, but for the most part, you walk away loving Barbara Streisand, again, if you weren't a big fan. But that really changed my career, because right after that, I got signed to Gersh, which is the largest TV agency for scripted and non, and they, within a week, had me, auditioning for A Star Is Born with Gaga and Bradley Cooper, and I did all the table reads and thought that was going to be my next job. But that agency never saw me as the kid from Queer Eye, and that was the difference. It was the first time I was with an agent that literally were like, Queer Eye, Schmear Eye, we literally are taking you because your reel is diverse, and we think you're a strong talent.
And with that said, we're going to hold on a second. We're going to get into Queer Eye. I just want to do a little commercial here to pay the rent. Your home away from home is in Silver Lake. It's called Casa Crawford. In strolling distance to both Echo Park and Silver Lake, Casa Crawford is the perfect bed and breakfast, an Airbnb. It's a home away from home. It's 3 miles from downtown and Hollywood. You get this gorgeous bedroom that has this beautiful original art on the walls, and you have this incredible view. So call for a reservation now at 323-663-1664. Talk to my friend Scott, and that's 323-663-1664. So, Queer Eye, I remember watching it and just loving the show, honestly. Yeah. And I remember what I really loved, it wasn't that the guys were gay, and it wasn't that the person they helped was straight. It was just the idea of helping somebody who's a
Absolutely.
mess.
Yes.
And you had one guy was the apartment, the next guy was the clothes, the next guy was the food, and then you were the guy that was the culture.
Yeah, I was going to help you make you cool in whatever situation.
Which is the weirdest thing of all.
At 23, a very difficult job, I have to say.
And you got it because you replaced somebody.
Yeah. So what happened was they had shot 2 episodes already, plus the pilot a year and a half prior, and they just couldn't quite figure out what the culture role was supposed to look like. And in the process, they heard they were going to recast, and they put soft feelers out. They heard I had this nightclub gig at the time. Part of it was just they wanted cool, hip downtown energy.
They probably wanted someone that wasn't white.
Yes, that was a big thing too. They didn't want Queer Eye for just the white guy. So what they were looking for was someone hip downtown, maybe with some kind of diversity attached. So I had this nightclub act at Excel, which at the time was this new bar on 16th Street and 9th in New York City. And I would tell funny stories about my week, stand-up style, and then sing a top 40 song with a live cover band or a Broadway song. It became this really popular night. So I auditioned for it. The producers came and saw me in this thing and were like, well, this is exactly what we're missing. He's a decade younger than the other guys. He's going to be able to fill this sort of cool niche Gen X at the time, I'm not a millennial, energy that I think will really help fuel the show. So I ended up getting the show on a Friday, and after calling my agent from the chemistry test, which no one had told me was a chemistry test, they told me it was a callback.
Oh, wonderful.
I walk into a boardroom, NBC Bravo's sitting on one side, and the creator and directors of the show and production company are on the other, and 3 chairs. A brightly dressed blonde guy to my right, and sort of a gay Buddy Holly to my left. Now, no one told me they were on the show. I had no point of reference of what the show was. So I thought these 2 gentlemen were actually auditioning for this replacement. So the board would ask me a question.
So that was Carson
and Ted.
Or Ted.
Who does Chopped. Carson from RuPaul's Drag Race right now, one of the judges. The board would ask me a question like, where are you from? What's your background? Take us on a romantic date. Like, what would you... And at every turn, everything I would say, these guys would try to discredit me. So I thought, okay, clearly they want this job more than I do. And
why did they discredit you?
They were just trying to see if I could comedically hold my own with playful ribbing, good-natured ribbing. And I was like, these people do sitcoms on NBC. I'm going to be just super funny back without being disrespectful. So that banter was the audition. I didn't know that. No one told me that.
Thank
so
God.
I leave, defeated. I was at the Abrams at the time, and I was like, I don't ever want to go on for anything like that again. I totally screwed up. So I made a fool of myself. An hour later, he goes, well, guess you didn't do that bad. You start Monday. And it changed my life. But I spent 3 years and 97 episodes convincing the world that I was the Puerto Rican Emily Post. And then when a show ended,
There is no job for a Puerto Rican.
Right! And then I was like, where do I go with that? So I went back to scripted, or I tried to, and it wasn't until Ryan Murphy, I was here in LA a year, and I had got a couple offers to host things, and that was fine. But what I wanted to do, again, was perform as an actor. And I was living in Los Angeles, and I was like, this is really hard. Like, I was a big TV star. I just won an Emmy. Like, I thought it would have been easier, and it wasn't.
Say that a little slower. You just won a what?
I just won an Emmy, and so I thought coming here with a Broadway background that casting would see me for roles. And that just wasn't so, and it wasn't until Ryan Murphy was auditioning a role on Nip Tuck for a Hollywood fashion stylist named Chaz Darling, which coincidentally is the name of the episode on Nip Tuck, Season 5, Episode 5. And my character is best friends with one of the leads on the show at the time, and she finagles a free surgery for me because I had an oversized nipple. That was the deformity that week, but we all know that he likes to stunt castings. But when I could hold my own in these scenes, people are like, oh, he's more than just a reality star.
It's so funny. The thing that you just did with your face, people can't see, but I get that all the time. Yeah, it's so funny how simpatico I'm feeling.
Yeah, no, I think our path is very similar, or I just actually
just no Emmy.
Yeah, I just did The Resident on Fox, which is a medical drama, and I played a straight male escort that runs through a plate glass window while fleeing from my client's husband.
What show was it?
The Resident. It just got picked up for season 2. It's a medical drama, and I had the big guest star that episode. And the funny thing is, I invited my snarkiest, I wanted to use the C word, but my snarkiest friends to my house to watch the episode. I wanted, real, your friends who, you normally don't praise your work, I wanted them to watch.
Or just don't go, you're on something again?
Yeah. So they came, and the whole time they're like, oh, you're really good. you're really good in this. It was just one of those roles that I knew would surprise people because it was outside of what they saw me. And, you know, I think for me, there's a couple things. There's the actor thing. People are just now leaning into like, oh, I saw him on something. I know he's good. The singing thing is something I had to remind people about because I was posting posters for my cabarets, inviting folks. But I realized on my social media, which is a good portion of how some people stay connected to each other, I posted nothing of me singing. So when I would put an ad for something, people had no point of reference. So now I've been posting a lot more singing videos.
Well, I knew that about you all the time because
Yeah.
I knew I'm such a detail person. I like to look up people and see
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm always curious of what everybody's done. And I think what's really interesting about it sometimes is it's a story in our head too. So you're the story. Hey, I'm the guy that won the Emmy for Queer Eye. Everybody thinks this, and it's really. Let me just tell you, it's not true
I know.
anymore. So you can let go of that story. That's not who you are.
Yeah.
You can take that post-it off yourself
Yeah.
and feel like you've gone to the next place.
And you know, now with the new Queer Eye being back, it's constantly. So what have you been up to since Queer Eye?
Nothing.
And you're like, that was like 11, 12 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, you ask me what I've done for the past decade? You know?
What's really interesting about that is that there are certain people, for me, that only saw me when I was on sitcoms.
Yes.
There's certain people that only saw me do stand-up.
That's right.
They think of me as just a comedian.
That's
There's
right.
certain people that think of me as a dramatic actor now because of Birth of a
Some
Nation.
of my favorite dramatic actors are actually comedians. You know, I think the emotional depth that some comedians can allow themselves to go to, I think is far deeper and greater than people who don't have a
The
comedy
perfect
background.
example is Monique.
I was just going to say that. Shocked everybody.
Well, no, it wasn't shocking.
It wasn't shocking. I didn't think
because
so either.
I'd seen her before in another film that he did.
Oh.
And she was in a film called with Helen Mirren, and it was Bruce Daniels, his other film that he directed.
Lee Daniels,
yeah. Rather. Oh, Bruce Daniels
is our friend.
Is the comedian. He was in a film. It was with Cuba Gooding Jr.
Oh.
And she played, I believe, the girlfriend to Gordon Levitt. And I was just completely blown away that was the same person that I had worked with in the Montreal Comedy Festival as a stand-up. And I just was so completely blown away by her performance in that movie. So when I saw her do the other one, I thought, oh man, this is where people actually get to see what you can do, you know, as an actor. I mean, that's the way I felt about Birth of a Nation, is that all of a sudden you can see somebody. It's called Shadow Boxer. Here it is. I'm looking it up. That's why people think I'm sounding really weird. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays her boyfriend in it.
Oh, wow.
And it's so funny because her character's name in that is Precious.
Brilliant.
And she played this. They were just a couple. Yeah. Well, Helen Mirren and Cuba Gooding Jr. were also a couple.
Right.
And that's what I sort of loved about Lee Daniels before he went to television, is that he would just cast. It wasn't about pretty people.
Right.
It was about interesting. And people that, you know, Mariah Carey playing the wrong part. Mm-hmm. Everybody playing a part that you were not right for.
Right.
And I love that because, you know, I remember seeing Esapatha Merkerson in Comeback in the AA play, the William Inge play, Come Back Little Sheba.
Yeah.
And I saw her, and they had black and white people. And I thought, how does this work? Because this is a period play that was written in the 40s, on Broadway in the 50s, a movie in the 50s. How does this work? Is the actor playing a white person? And I'm thinking, yeah. And after a while, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's what white people used to do when they played people of color.
Yeah.
They just played even though it was wrong to do at the time. Sure. But as artists, you go, oh, you can just, and that's what Hamilton is all about.
Right, yeah.
But it's just not an equal playing field.
Right.
And the people of color don't get to play the white parts, where the white part people get to play everybody.
Right.
And I think, God, you know, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You know, that all of a sudden we are actors. Because when I went up to read for Birth of a Nation, a white heterosexual Christian plantation owner in 1831. Yeah, perfect. I thought, why are they asking me to do this?
Yeah.
And then I get a call that I have to go all the way to Savannah, Georgia for a callback on my own dime to meet this guy named Nate Parker. Who is he? And it changed my life because somebody...
Was that a hard decision for you, by the way?
To go? To go. On my own dime?
Yes.
No.
You just were like, no, I'm doing it.
I saved the money. I have the freedom. That's why, for those people who are listening to this show now, and saying, I want to be an actor, I want to be a comedian, I want to be a singer, I want to be a host, whatever it is, you have to realize that your life cannot be about things.
Right.
And he's in my apartment right now. It's just a simple apartment.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, just a simple apartment. I've lived here 20 years. It's not about having a big, crazy car. It's not about having all these expensive clothes. Right. It's about having money in the bank so you can fly to New York when you have to go for the Broadway show, or you need to fly this, or you want to be able to go see this play that everybody's talking about so you can have that feed you. You want to take that class. You want to be able to, enjoy the art of what everything is, to be who you are as an artist, to live that, and not to be about, it's not about making $1 million. If that comes, you're lucky, but you can do a series and then not work for a year.
It totally happens.
Yeah. And then you have to do whatever you have to do.
I mean, I'm sure you've been in audition rooms, in the waiting room, and you're looking across and you're like, he's still auditioning. Like, people who have
I remember
millions of credits.
Richard Jenkins, Oscar nominee, right before The Visitor. People know him, recently Oscar nominated for The Shape of Water. I'm sitting in an audition for some stupid comedy, really one of those straight boy comedies. And him and I, it's the end of the day. It's in Santa Monica. It's literally like 5:30.
I hate that. Oh, I know exactly the place you were at too, probably.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there next to him, and I just looked at him, and we were both looking at our sides. And I said, I just want to apologize to you. He said, why? I said, because I can't believe they are reading you for this. I can't believe and we were up for the same part. They should just offer it to you. Or maybe we were up for different parts. I don't remember. And he said, thank you. I said, if no one apologizes to you, I am.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Because it was just, I said, you're brilliant. And I want to be you when I grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know that feeling. I mean, I think I think is very encouraging, because you have to remember, I did half a decade working a lot in stage work. And then I did Queer Eye, which was constant. Like, we were just constantly working. There was constantly stuff around it. Then I came to LA.
But the only other time you did work, if you were not working at all. I remember you came here, it was like,
yeah. And I had a shift, and I started meeting other people that were like, welcome to your new normal. You might do a job for 3 months that might pay your salary for the year. And now you need to readjust that.
Oh, because you got from Broadway to Queer Eye.
To like the constant working where hustle. So I didn't even know how to like do a budget, because I was like, how do you make a budget for like not work, like, you know what I mean? Like projected income, which is very bizarre. And then I started to feel like, I took it easy on myself in the sense that I wasn't going to allow the experience that is normal, which is we have gaps in our employment, there are peaks and valleys, to affect me or how I see myself as a performer. I'm going to constantly stay on my toes. I'm going to make sure I walk into rooms fully prepared and give the best version of myself that I can for that part, and then leave and be like, well, now it's in their hands,
But if you save your money and you don't spend everything when you have it, then when you're not working, you could still
to live and live well. Yes,
and absolutely. Also just you can't go to an audition if you don't have time to prepare for it because you're at some job selling T-shirts or whatever you're doing. You just can't, because it's very difficult. I mean, you can, but it's really, really, really difficult.
You won't. I don't think it'd be as present as you should. Yeah,
it's hard.
It is,
and sometimes things just fall into space, and sometimes they don't. So tell me again where this show is.
Oh yeah. So listen, this is what I do. I've been doing live singing, as far as I can remember. But when I started doing Broadway, a lot of the people in Broadway shows would do cabarets. They'd pick 12 of their favorite songs, or 10 of their favorite songs, and kind of tell you maybe some personal stories that they felt connected to, or just straight up hilarious stories about their lives. So what I've done is I labeled this show #Vintage Bravo, because I'm the OG Queer Eye guy from the old cast of Queer Eye, and so I feel like even the colors I use for the poster are the colors from our book and the marketing from the original Queer Eye colors. And I've never had to talk about queer so much except for this year. So what I did was put together,
because it's back on the air.
It's back on the air on Netflix, so with a brand new cast, which were fabulous. So there were a lot of stories and things that I was like, I shouldn't tell that. No, I am telling some really great celebrity run-in stories that I was like, the chances of me running into J-Lo again are probably very low. So I have a great J-Lo story, but there were some really funny stories, and I'm just really candid about how I got the show, what it was like to be on the show, what I feel about life post the show, things that I never really shared that I think are of value for anyone. It doesn't have to be an entertainment thing. And then I do some really great top 40 songs and some Broadway songs. I have 2 special guests. I have my friend Trevin, who performs frequently at Rockwell, incredible singer. And then my friend Patrick Kuzara, who's a musical theater performer from New York City, who DJs out here for like that's his waiter job. So people know him as a DJ, and every now and again he'll pop up on something, and they're like, "I didn't know you're an actor," and he's like, "Yes, I am." So I have some really a great soundtrack that I love, and some really funny anecdotal stories that kind of fit in there, and a little insight into kind of who I am as a person, you know. If
and
you
let's
just
say
know me
where
from
it is.
career.
It's at Rockwell.
It's at Rockwell Table and Stage, which is on Vermont.
It's a Silver Lake,
Silver
California.
Lake.
This is not. This show goes everywhere.
Yeah.
So this is in Silver Lake, California.
And I'm doing
Los Angeles for those who are really far
That's
away.
right. I'm doing it here in LA May 22nd, and then I'm doing a cabaret in San Diego on May the 31st, which is a Thursday at Martini's above 4th.
Oh, I've been there.
Great venue. I'm surprised. Have you played there?
Love it.
Yeah, it's a great space.
And great guys that run it.
Great guys. So yeah, it's a fun, hilarious thing. And also Rockwell's just a great restaurant, place to get some food or to eat. If you end up coming, come around 7. Give yourself some time to get some snack, a glass of wine or 3. And the show's about an hour and 15, just over an hour, yeah.
And I love that place, Rockwell.
So great.
For those that are here, I really, really do. I think it's just... I don't know. I really think it's...
They put a lot of money into creating an environment that looks really professional.
It's got a classy kind of feeling.
Great sound, great lighting.
Like, for the lack of a better description, it feels like a New York place.
You feel very supported as a performer when you're performing there. You feel like you have the technical elements to support whatever performance you're bringing into that space.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for being
Thank you for having me on. Yeah, and we do have a lot in common. I do think it's like this whole, I call like, you know, it's, I sometimes look a little younger than I am. I'm going to be 39 in June. And it's weird. It's like you forget how long you've been doing something. And I've really this year kind of leaned into owning the fact that I've been in this business for 20 years and I can trust some of my intuitions about decisions in my life because I have the experience to lean on. Whereas when I was younger, I would often take someone's word who I thought was smarter than me or more advanced in their career. Now I am that guy. So I can offer advice, but I can now take my own as well and trust that voice in this industry because I've been doing it for a while, you know?
And if people want to get a hold of you, where do they go?
Instagram is official Jai Rodriguez. J Rodriguez was already taken by some kid in the Philippines. There's a blue check mark by my name, so you'll know it's me. And then Facebook is the same thing, just J Rodriguez, no official.
Jai.
Jai. Twitter, just Jai Rodriguez. All 3 have blue check marks.
Do you have a website?
I don't, and I'm literally in the process. I just sat down with someone to make one.
Just all you need is a page. And then this way they can just go to your page and get all your stuff.
You know what's funny? Someone had purchased my name, so I was gonna have to be the or official or
Yeah, someone offered to give me JasonStewart.net. You know, but I had a guy when I literally a guy named Reba. He said, you must buy your website. I said, why? I don't even have a computer.
Yeah.
1995.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long things would take to download?
Oh, my God.
Oh.
Please, just to get online.
Forget it.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare.
But I so appreciate you being
Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Everybody, take care. Until next time.